ABC-7 Xtra.
Good evening, I'm Saul Sainz, and this is a special live edition of ABC-7 Xtra on this, the eve of the one-year commemoration of one of the darkest days in El Paso history. It was 1 year ago today, August 3rd, that a lone gunman walked into the Cielo Vista Walmart and opened fire, killing 23, injuring 22. Tonight, we pause to remember. We vow to never forget that horrific day that touched the lives of every borderland resident. We will hear from Mayor Margo, a look back and how far we've come 1 year later.
We need to be reminded that this did not destroy us, that it will make us stronger, and we're going to show the world.
We'll also hear from a soccer coach who was shot by the gunman several times and against all odds recovered.
The beautiful game, seeing my girls running after a ball and not knowing exactly what they're thinking.
And we'll also hear from a police officer who witnessed both the 9/11 tragedy in New York as well as the Cielo Vista Walmart shooting here in El Paso.
We couldn't get there fast enough to protect those 23 lives.
We begin tonight with the county unveiling a memorial honoring all of the victims of that shooting. Moments of remembrance started today at Escalante Park. Earlier today, County Judge Ricardo Samaniego led the groundbreaking ceremony for a community healing garden, which is currently under construction. 23 floral mannequins put together by dozens of florists from across the borderland were on display, each one representing each of the victims. That service, which you watched on our sister station, the CW, was held privately for families of the victims. After the service, Escalante Park lit up the night with luminarias symbolizing the community's road to a resilient future. That part of the event will continue into tomorrow and is open to the public. Judge Samaniego tells ABC-7 planning these events have been difficult because of COVID-19, but knows this is an important part of the community's healing process.
We are able to showcase to the country, if not the world, that the answer to any given crisis, even of this nature, is to be united prior to the challenge. We all knew we were El Paso strong. Now everyone else will know that we are strong. We have been privileged to be one of the safest communities in the country, and we will now be a role model of how we commemorate our fallen citizens.
An unbreakable bond. That's what the EP Fusion soccer team has. The young girls were fundraising at Cielo Vista Walmart the day of the shooting. They all survived, but two of the members of the Fusion family did not. The head coach of the team, Luis Calvillo, was shot 5 times and survived. He sat down with ABC-7's Mauricio Casillas to discuss how everyone is coping 1 year later.
The August 3rd shooting took so many things away from Luis Calvillo. He lost his father, and he lost one of his best friends, but he didn't lose soccer. Now, 1 year later, he tells me it's the beautiful game that's kept him going.
If a situation happens, whatever the harm may be, if you're still alive, you have to push.
5 bullets pierced Luis Calvillo's body on a day that was supposed to be for his girls. A fundraiser cut short.
It's something that... Say hello, girls. It's just a year ago we were at Walmart and then this craziness happened.
A hate-filled attack where 12 months later, so much pain still lingers.
My left leg is still completely numb. I can barely feel it. It's difficult to walk. It's a lot of pain still.
First time I see the sunlight, 17 days.
Calvillo was hospitalized for 2 months. He had to relearn how to walk. This is what helped him through it all. Seeing the joy on his players' faces when they're out on the field.
They enjoy it. They feel every second, and that's what kept me motivated to go after these injuries and just knock them down. Knock him down, don't let him take me down.
But walking again was bittersweet, knowing he wouldn't be able to go up to his dad and hug him. Jorge Calvillo was one of the 23 who lost their lives.
My father was the best father that anyone could wish for. Always a great example to me, to my brother, to my family, and to the community. I always try to help others, and that's the example that I took from him.
And this past April, an all too familiar pain. Memo Garcia, his fellow coach and great friend, died. He battled in the hospital for 8 months.
Man, greatest fighter ever known. It took a lot for him to go down, you know. Fighter, always fighting, always that tank tough that we always will keep in mind. Great man.
Through it all, Calvillo and his team remain strong.
High kicks, all right, 10 on each side.
The pandemic has forced them to be creative when it comes to training.
All the girls that were involved, they became very strong. They actually reach out to each other all the time. They see each other, so I think they're doing really well.
7, 1, 2, 3, 8, 1, 2.
And soon, the girls will be back out there together, doing what they love most. It'll look a little different, sure. They'll wear masks and won't be able to hug each other, but they'll start training next week.
The beautiful game, seeing my girls running after a ball and not knowing exactly what they're thinking, not knowing if they're really going after that ball or if they're just enjoying the wind on their face. That's what it means. That's what the game is all about.
1, 2, 3.
A year later, it's so clear. Hate didn't win. The EP Fusion did. Mauricio Casillas, ABC-7.
Touching. Coach Calvillo will be briefly sidelined before returning to the field with his team. He's getting surgery to fix a hernia that was caused by one of the bullets that struck him. Once again, he says his team will be his motivation as he recovers. And everyone who experienced the Walmart mass shooting has an August 3rd story to share. Out of the countless witnesses that saw firsthand what hate can accomplish, one of them came in form of an El Paso police officer who is no stranger to tragedy. JC Navarrete introduces us to Lieutenant John Schneider.
Lieutenant John Schneider, no stranger to tragedy himself. He was a police officer with the NYPD during 9/11. He's lived through the darkest days in New York City history. He's lived through the darkest day in El Paso's history. As we reach the 1-year mark of this senseless tragedy, Schneider wants the community to know its brightest days still lie ahead.
We lost 23 lives for absolutely no reason whatsoever. And, you know, the families are still suffering. They're going to continue to suffer from that. And it's just sad. You know, it's sad. It's a waste of life. Nothing was accomplished, you know, by that tragedy.
Lieutenant John Schneider was working out that Saturday morning at the West Side Regional Command when he heard the call ring out. Dressed in workout clothes, he geared up and made his way to the scene.
I jumped in. I was with shorts and stuff. I put my gear on, police gear, and then I just headed on I-10. Unfortunately, you know, as you're hearing the call and it's getting upgraded, that there are more people down and it's still active, you know, you're stressed out. You can't get there fast enough.
It's nearly 17 miles from the West Side Regional Command Center to the Walmart at Cielo Vista. A drive marked by police lights and just enough time for Schneider to reflect on his time as a responding officer to Ground Zero on September 11th, 2001.
I did call my wife really quick. It kind of reminded me of 9/11 a little bit because it's similar. I'm working, something happens, I call her, hey, this is what's going on, just to let her know. So this way she knows what I'm doing at least.
Schneider, like many of you at home, is still working through what happened that fateful August morning. He says he carries the victims with him.
We kind of go through a little depression, you know, because our goal is to protect and serve the community, and, you know, we couldn't get there fast enough to protect those 23 lives. So we feel like sometimes you let them down, and you have to live with that. And it's just part of this job. It's part of life.
While we all continue to grieve the 23 lives lost, Schneider wants the community to feel safe once again.
We understand that when we take this job, it's 24/7. No matter what we're doing, whether we're eating with the family, when somebody calls or something like this, we're gonna go no matter what.
JC Navarrete, ABC-7.
And we know he and other police officers will be there. 10 different law enforcement agencies responded to the August 3rd mass shooting from the local police department, including officers from the state and federal level. You're watching ABC-7 Xtra, where news comes first. When we come back, we'll hear from the mayor, his thoughts 1 year later.
So I started getting E911 text to my city phone. The first was there was an incident or a shooting.
Tired of antidepressants not working and dealing with side effects such as drowsiness, nausea, weight gain, or sexual dysfunction? At the practice of Alfredo Arellano, a proud El Pasoan and pioneer in behavioral health, we exclusively offer evidence-based and cutting-edge treatments such as transcranial magnetic stimulation. TMS stimulates the brain non-invasively, improving mood, energy, concentration, and mental focus, and in some cases, eliminating the need for medications. Call now for your consultation. The Psychiatric Office of Alfredo Arellano, healing minds, helping hearts.
When you spend your hard-earned money locally, those dollars stay right here in our town. For 23 years, we have believed that this keeps our community stronger. Shopping local doesn't mean you spend more. With our buying power, you can be confident that you're getting the best product at the best price, guaranteed, or it's free. So let's band together and create a better night's sleep for you while making El Paso stronger. Visit us at mattressfirmep.com. Mattress Firm, your local source for a great night's sleep.
Our dealers are ready, and with online options available, you can shop our best offers any way you choose. The Acura Summer of Performance event. Don't miss it.
Visit Fox Acura of El Paso for attractive offers on the RDX.
Monday on ABC-7, special coverage all day long on the 1-year anniversary of the El Paso Walmart shooting.
I was convinced that that individual would have never come from our region.
Starting with Good Morning El Paso, every ABC-7 newscast will have special news stories or interviews with people who played important roles last August 3rd.
My main purpose was to get everybody out as quickly and safely as possible.
Together we remember. Together we heal. All day Monday on ABC-7.
Monday on Good Morning El Paso, 1 year after the Cielo Vista Walmart shooting.
The more united we are, the stronger we'll be.
A special interview with the store manager who found the inner strength to act decisively and save lives.
Welcome back to ABC-7 Extra Sunday night. Mayor DeMargo was out of town when the tragedy occurred. He made it a point to get to El Paso and has since made it his mission to make sure this tragedy doesn't define El Paso. Hillary Florin sat down with the mayor to look back on that tragic day from his perspective.
So I started getting E911 text to my city phone. The first was there was an incident or a shooting, but then they came back and said no one was harmed, or there was no one hurt at this time. The next thing you know, well, that's not the case. Comes back that it got to where they said there may be multiple shooters. It was just on and on and on.
Mayor DeMargo recalls feeling helpless as conflicting news reports from the Cielo Vista Walmart trickled in on August 3rd. He was in Austin when he got that first 911 text and immediately headed back to El Paso.
I boarded the plane, and for an hour and a half, I couldn't do anything but pray, because there was no internet, no web connection, no nothing. And so I just sat there and prayed and looked out the window.
The coming days and hours, a blur of emotional events.
Immediately was met by my dignitary detail and staff, and we went to the 9/11 Fusion Center, where I had the briefings with the FBI, police, Emergency Operations Center, DPS, Department of Justice.
Among the dignitaries who immediately flew to Ground Zero, Governor Greg Abbott and Senator John Cornyn, who joined the mayor to give blood. Well, at least try.
The line was so long. It was here we are in the hot August sun, and the line was all the way out and around the building. And after people gave blood, they announced it, and people cheered. And I thought to myself, this is El Paso. You go from a hospital room to volunteers giving blood, waiting for hours in the sun because they care about what happened in this community. So to me, that was the real dichotomy of who we are as a community, and the contrast between the death and giving life.
In the following days, weeks, and even months to come, Margot sat down and did interviews with reporters and news outlets from across the country. He heard the same thing over and over.
They would say either before or after the interview, they could not get over the hospitality and the warm reception they were getting from us, from our people, in spite of this. And that's why I said we're going to overcome hate. We're going to overcome this. This will, I've always said from day one, this will not be a defining moment in our history. It will be part of our history, but I want to relegate it to an asterisk footnote.
Mayor Margot attending every funeral in El Paso.
The families were tremendous. I mean, I greeted all the families at all the funerals I could attend. I didn't make the ones in Juarez. And you know, people need to realize there were 46 that were wounded, 23 perished, and 9 were from Juarez. And that's something that people I don't think across the world understand. You know, when we finished all the funerals, I said, I don't want to ever do that again.
This is the one on the El Paso.
Symbols of resilience hang on his office walls in City Hall. These handmade quilts, a gift he was given as a reminder that we are El Paso strong. And he appreciates other reminders of the importance of that day.
I think Walmart did a great job on the Candela after seeing all those funerals and all those candles at every funeral. I thought that was a great monument for the victims and their families. Was this giant candela, which is it's us. It's who we are. You know, we have a strong spiritual foundation here, and I think that's going to keep us going regardless.
Moving forward, Mayor Margot says we need only look back on our history.
We talk about resilience, but we're survivalists. We've survived a whole lot here over our history of hundreds of years, 100 years before the United States. And I just think it's embedded into our DNA and our culture that it's one day at a time. The sun rises the next morning, and we will get through it. And we do it together. We need to be reminded that this did not destroy us, that it will make us stronger. And we're going to show the world.
Hillary Florin, ABC-7.
And we'll show you another example of how we are surviving. You're watching ABC-7 Extra. Still ahead, we look back to our coverage of this evening's event, A Time to Remember, A Time to Heal. We'll be back.
With 2 1/3-pound beef patties, the only way to stop it is to eat it. The new Monster Angus Thick Burger at Carl's Jr. Feed your happy.
For every moment of your life, there's a Ford SUV that was built for you. Upgrade to a new Ford SUV at your Texas Ford dealer today. With amazing deals on Expedition, Edge, EcoSport, and the all-new Explorer and Escape. See your Texas Ford dealer or shop online and use our pickup and delivery services. Ford SUVs, built for Texas, built for you. Now, for a limited time, get 0 for 72 months on our full lineup of Ford SUVs. Hurry in to your Texas Ford dealer.
Lucky shot, Michael Gopin. How about a 2-on-2?
Bring it on.
What's your partner?
Right here.
What just happened?
I don't know what just happened.
Michael Gopin just happened.
Call the law offices of Michael Gopin right now. You'll be taken care of.
Hey guys, the game isn't over yet. It's a game of 21. You barely scored 2.
Both of these men say they witnessed the Walmart shooter gun down 46 people last August 3rd. I've spoken to this man who says he carried out the Enchando baby outside the store.
He's a hero, no doubt. His actions, we believe, directly led to saving several lives.
But you've never heard from this man who says he was the one who actually rescued that baby. For the first time, you will hear from him in my special report. Where is the Walmart hero? You be the judge. Monday night at 10, only on ABC-7.
1/3-pound Angus beef, doubled. That means 2. The new Monster Angus Thick Burger at Carl's Jr. Feed your happy.
Those were the sights and sounds of the ceremony. Together we remember, together we heal. Also watching were our anchors, ABC-7 anchors, Eric Elkin and Stephanie Valle. Both join me now. And Stephanie, I'll start with you. As a native El Pasoan, you watched the ceremony. What was going through your mind?
Well, Saul, watching the ceremony immediately took me back to that day and specifically that morning. I think as we were leading up to August 3rd, I was thinking a lot of things about how I felt that day before it happened and when we found out what happened, and just how life has changed and how that innocence was lost. And seeing that ceremony today, it really brought back those feelings again, that the tremendous sadness, the feeling that this town had been targeted and was feeling so much pain that day. Seeing all of the families in the audience grieving, it really spoke to me, seeing that even though we are in a pandemic and people are forced to be socially distant and wear masks, and then on top of that, they are still grieving their loss, that they still showed up today to take part in this ceremony that is honoring their family members and the people who survived. I thought it was a really tremendous showing on the part of the county and the city for putting this together, as well as for the people who wanted to take part today.
And Eric, you really hadn't been with ABC-7 too long when this basically was thrust upon you. What were your thoughts about first of all, the tragedy, and then secondly, the ceremony?
Well, not even a year. That's how long I had been here when August 3rd happened. And I think about what the county judge said right at the beginning, when he said everyone knew where they were, what they were doing that morning. And if not for this, that's the day that a lot of people probably would forget about. But it's in that moment when everything happened that everything changed, and life changed for so many, whether it be the victims and their families, the people who were wounded, or people who were watching from their living rooms, or just hearing about it, maybe in a different part of the country. That is a day that resonates with so many people now because of what happened, and we saw that on display tonight at that ceremony. As Stephanie mentioned, all of those family members in one place, in a private ceremony, but one that was aired to the public for everyone to see, and we get to see the pain on their faces. That still a year ago now, and a year to today, this is not something that will just go away or start to go away. It's something that they'll live with for the rest of their lives, much like we will, having been witnesses to it in different capacities. But you know, I said this earlier after the ceremony. I think what stood out to me is it also showed the true mark of what El Paso is all about. You've seen the hashtag El Paso Strong ever since that day, and we saw that on full display, especially on that day. Stephanie and I talk a lot in between shows and at different times, and one thing that she keeps talking about, I know Stephanie, you mentioned a lot, is that line at the blood bank that you saw, and the resilience that you see from the community, and the willingness that in that moment when so much is still unknown on the day of August 3rd, that people were still willing to go out of their homes and just try and help in any capacity. That is what El Paso is all about. And for someone, to get to your point, Saul, who had only been here for a little bit under a year at that time, to see that on full display made me feel like I made the right decision moving my family here and expanding our family here.
Stephanie, you made a keen observation as I was watching your coverage. One of the things that you said was that this is actually the first time that we hear the names of the people who actually survived or were touched by this tragedy, who were inside that story. And you've had the opportunity to talk to some of the survivors, haven't you?
Yes, Saul. I spoke to one of the survivors the day after the shooting, Maribel Latin, and she was in the hospital and wanted to share her story. She felt compelled to tell people what she witnessed that day, and she was also really just staunchly just about talking about what had happened and how everyone had to come together, and just it was tremendous to hear that she wanted to share that and share her story with people, that she brought them in. I also was able to hear the story of Michelle Grady, and I'm actually going to have her in my podcast for Borderline Crimes, which is focusing on the August 3rd shooting. And just her observations and what she had to experience and what she has had to overcome, and her story is tremendous as well. Like you said, Saul, this is the first time that we heard the names of all of the people who were shot and survived, and it's something that we spend so much time focusing on the people who died, and rightfully so, because they lost their lives. But so many people were affected simply because they were staying there and they were in the wrong place at the wrong time, but survived. And from what I heard from Michelle, is there is that feeling of guilt that they have, that feeling that they survived, but they're also trying to make sure that they don't take their survival for granted, and that they make this a purposeful moment and a purposeful life to move forward and remember and to honor the people who did not survive that. And so again, that list of people who survived the shooting is almost as long as the people who died.
Eric, as part of our continuing and complete in-depth coverage, you also had the opportunity to talk to a family member of one of the youngest victims, correct? Can you give us a preview?
I ended up talking to the Clint ISD Superintendent, Dr. Juan Martinez. We went back to the field at Horizon High School where Javier Remeber Rodriguez attended high school, and where that vigil was held for him just 2 days after he lost his life inside that Walmart. He was there with his uncle at the time, wanting to go and get money out to get a haircut. And that's when it all turned for them. And so they held that vigil on that football field. He was a big soccer player, so it's the soccer field as well, and loved soccer. And we revisited what that day was like back on August 5th, but also what this year has been like, in a particular moment that really resonated with Dr. Martinez in the last year, that just brought it all back. One of the things he said about that moment, which I'll share in the story, is even though it had been months after the fact, it brought back that pain to make it feel like it was yesterday.
Eric Elkin, Stephanie Valle, thank you so much. I watched the entire coverage. You did a great job. Thanks again.
Thank you, Saul.
Thanks, Saul.
And one of the things that caught my attention during that ceremony most was when County Judge Ricardo Samaniego spoke about the fact that even though we're in the middle of a pandemic and we all had to social distance, everyone who was there had to social distance, everyone still came together as a moment of trying to heal. This has been a special edition of ABC-7 Extra. Together we remember, together we heal. Thank you for letting us into your homes. I'm Saul Saenz. Good night y buenas noches.
You're watching ABC-7,